Welcome to Hallo-Whiskey'd-Ween 2, The Drunkening.
Dun, dun, dun!
Ow!
Happy Halloween, you fucks.
Damn straight, give me some fucking candy. And when I say candy, I prefer full frontal nudity.
The hard candy.
Yep, exactly.
Give me that hard candy, you sons of bitches.
You know what I'm talking about, Carl. Anyway.
So what do you got in front of you? You got a little
Penis.
12-year-old scotch.
Oh, yes. We're doing our own take on the one bourbon, one scotch, and one beer.
Yes.
It's one bourbon, one blended.
No,
I'm sorry.
scotch.
One blended, one scotch, and one beer.
One Canadian.
Yeah.
A little
Because, yeah, sure, you betcha.
a little Crown Royal here, guy.
Yeah.
We're getting drunk.
One Crown, one scotch, and one beer.
We're
That's
getting-
what... Little Hoopensack.
Yep, getting drunk off some
Hoopensack.
Crown and water. With a little,
Just had a stogie with them.
Oh.
Yeah, we're prime location right now. Prime.
this is definitely the Drunkening.
Yeah. That was a beer. I gotta say, we've already gone through almost 3/4 of a liter of 12-year-old.
Yep, and a little over.
I have to
halfway.
reiterate because I said 12-year-old. 12-year-old
Scotch.
Glenfiddich, to be exact.
Not some
Made in the Valley of the Deer.
I mean,
That is a peacock and a deer fighting, ladies and gentlemen. And you would wonder who would win that battle. The answer is nobody wins that battle.
no, that's just a tragedy
That's what I'm saying.
from everywhere.
That's like a unicorn jumping off a cliff. Everybody cries.
That is true. That is true.
It's just sad.
And then, so the Crown with the water, the 12-year-old scotch, and a little Samuel Adams Oktoberfest, the greatest beer ever brewed by man or God.
I have a second rendition to that.
Not allowed.
All right. Latitude 48.
First story, please.
If you didn't catch that. Latitude 48.
Okay, what? I didn't include, like, the title of the story and or author. You should
And
probably...
apparently I'm supposed to read this upside down.
No, flip that, yeah.
Okay.
It's not called The Drunkening, because this is a professional, put-together podcast.
And then Jenny said, "Ibidoo-bidabadoo."
Fuck you.
Whatever.
All right.
All right. So, no idea what the story's called.
Probably the first title of the sentence is probably what the story is called.
Well then, this story is called Zombies Have No Respect for Plumbing.
And they don't. They shit like nobody's business.
Well, you try that kind of protein diet and then tell me that you don't have to shit every 15 minutes.
Oh, their farts smell like pure methane, I bet.
I'm just saying.
Brains.
Alright, so they don't teach you that when you fill out the paperwork for your apprentice license. That's a broken sentence.
No, zombies have zero respect for plumbing, and they don't tell
And then
you
period. They don't tell you that when teaching you or when filling out your paperwork. for
that. Yeah,
your
that makes
apprentice.
perfect sense. Because they don't tell
Yeah,
you
I just
that.
read it wrong.
Yeah, because you did it as a headline.
Yeah.
That's why it's called The Drunk.
Since the plague slowed down, people didn't see the need to finish off their family members.
So this is
You
a
just-
story that takes place after the plague is on.
I have no idea. I'm still reading.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you. You better get used to this.
I'm just saying. After one sentence, I know as much as you, man.
And I'm speculating. Okay, continue.
All right. You just pay a wrangler to tie them up, slap a rubber ball in their mouth,
What? That's kinky?
and send them home. Like
What
you just swat on the butt and be like, on your way.
After I mouth raped you,
Yeah.
I'm going to put this ball gag in and go home, you fucker. Don't tell anybody what you just said.
The worst part about it is the zombie was going,
Brains. I'll fucking brain you.
oh, they may want Oh, I'm sorry. They may want to tussle with you every once in a while, but for the most part, they just sit there. People hold on to some hope for a cure, but I know better. Christ could raise Lazarus, but Lord knows he wouldn't try to bring a pork chop back to life.
Whoa, he's equating zombies to pork chops? And Lazarus is like something you need to hold on to?
I guess. I used to just pull hair out of the drains.
Ew.
Use a snake or some other such tool to drag matted balls of bath grime and shaving leave-ins out of the bathtub. This brings me to my current predicament. Standing in the shower of some blue-haired granny who just couldn't say goodbye to her oaf of a husband, I saw him walking in. That's hard to read when you're just drunk. But
and I left all spelling
walking
errors.
in the festering pile of meat. The red ball in his mouth would have made him look like a pig on a spit, that is, if he had still natural color left in his body. She called to tell me her drain was backing up, that a horrible smell and rusty-colored substance was coming through. I figured it was a sewage backup. Not my favorite call, but you can gouge these people, and they have to pay for it. Unfortunately for me, it wasn't sewage. When I started pulling the snake back, the white chunks started dropping off the cable.
Ah!
Little flaps of raw skin.
Ah!
At this stage, it starts to fall off like a bad sunburn, only meteor. The smell hits me and I want to double over. At least if the worst happens, I'm in the bathroom and can easily find the can. Ma'am, do you know anything about this? I asked, pointing at the muck retching under the stench. I'm pretty sure more than a couple of teeth are in the mess now.
Oh.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Why don't you plumbers make these drains good enough?
To get rid of human waste?
Well, we don't expect to push the cherished remains of your dead husband down the drain.
The dickhead answer of the
But he needs his shower. His hygiene was never in order, even before his accident. I just pushed it down with my toes.
Oh!
Now, I normally don't take kindly to this sort of visceria. Or... Yeah, that's... V-I-S-S-E-A-R.
Weird.
Viscera? I'm not familiar with that word. This sort of candor.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's what they're meaning there.
Yeah.
Or the type of person who puts up with it. But something struck me in the moment. Its brilliance was so simple, but I had no idea what I would... But I had the idea that would revolutionize the in-home zombie phenomenon and plumbing as we know it.
So there's a phenomenon about...
Miss, would you like me to install a garbage disposal in here? Can you do that? Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
That's fucked up, man. That's not like a horror story. That's just fucked up.
Basically, I'm going to chop up your husband
That's
and
what
make
he's
it
saying.
aggressive.
When shit falls off him, it just goes... What the fuck?
That was a shorter tale than I anticipated.
Good.
Well,
That was not a tale.
it was a drunken story.
It was a drunken story.
It fits for what we're doing. Now, story number 2.
Oh, I'm definitely interrupting you.
You better. That's the whole point of this. I just hope I can keep my place.
Keep it.
Alright. This is how it begins. The subject, known as X,
Dun dun dun.
was a healthy, fit, and toned young man of about 20 years of age. X first came to see me a week ago. He was agitated and under extreme duress.
Ah.
Refusing a mild sedative, he demanded he be given a complete checkup,
And a stronger sedative.
including some procedures not normally associated with a routine physical examination.
Like a penis lengthening.
When he returned to my office yesterday, I had the results of those tests.
And he was very, very adamant about it.
And X had a most unusual tale to tell.
He
It's
had
good.
a tail?
He did. Not T-A-L-E.
Oh,
not
okay. I was
T-I-L.
going to say, when you said that, it kind of... Okay.
It's good to see you again. Please sit down. Thank you, doctor. How are you feeling? You seem more relaxed today. His gaze passed through me. It was his one striking feature. His eyes. Black and dull. Even as I think about them now...
Fucking vampire.
Yeah. Even though he thinks of him now, he's filled with an unexplained dread, hollow and empty. His eyes were those of a corpse.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, doctor. Better. Calmer. For now. The tests. Do you have the results of my tests?
Better do I fuck you with.
I do. As I suspected and told you, they show nothing out of the ordinary. There is nothing physically wrong with you. He looked up at me sheepishly, as if afraid to ask. Tell me, doctor, please. Very well. Your vitals are fine. Your heart rate, pulse, blood pressure, and respiration. Respiration.
There you go. Gold start.
All fine. Blood work came back negative, as did toxins and other samples. The only thing which stands out is that your vitals and counts are slightly elevated, stronger than normal. This is certainly no cause for alarm. His voice turned anxious. Go on. Your reflexes and motor skills better than average. Eyesight is remarkable. And I have never seen muscle tissue or bone muscle tissue or bone as dense as yours. Please stick it in me. And, and the rest. And the rest, he
It rates
says.
itself.
Yep. With the question, X once again became agitated. I was struck with the feeling that he knew the results before I'd given him.
Ooh.
Well,
He's pregnant.
brain activity and function did test elevated, but normal. You can rest assured you are strong, healthy. I wouldn't be surprised if you lived to be 120. With that, X began to fidget nervously. My words, which certainly should have assuaged any fears, seemed to rather trouble him. He looked at me intently, those dark eyes studying, piercing. Finally, X reached into his pocket, withdrew a photograph, and presented it to me.
Photo.
It was the picture of a man with graying hair and other signs of aging.
Masturbating.
How old would you say he is? X asked. Oh, perhaps about 40, I guess. It was then I realized the figure in the picture posed the same chilling, dark, dead eyes. I said, "Is this your father?" X tensed in his seat, his mouth pursed, and then suddenly curled in what I can only describe as that doesn't make sense. I can only describe as a failed attempt to smile. I'm too drunk, I can't follow sentences. Okay, I'm going to say that again. X in his seat, his mouth pursed, and then suddenly curled in what I can only describe as a failed attempt to smile. No, doctor. That is not my father. The man in the picture is me. While his words were delusional, X's posture remained alert, attentive even.
Attentive.
You do realize
Nipples pert.
you do realize the person in this picture, while bearing a striking resemblance to you, is easily twice your age. This time the smile broke through the stoic demeanor. It was a half-crooked, I've got a secret sort of smile, which sent chills throughout my body.
Ooh.
Combined with those hollow, dead eyes, it was a look I shall never forget.
I like that.
But it is me, doctor, he began calmly, with an icy detachment of fact. This is what I look like when he paused. We sat for an interminable, uncomfortable time, studying each other. Finally, X seemed to make up his mind. It's the curse, you know. The curse.
What curse?
Perhaps you should tell me about this curse. He arose slowly, his hands finding the bottom of his trouser pockets.
He's jacking off again.
And wandered over to the window to gaze out while he's jacking off.
That's what I'm saying.
And so began X's strange tale. War!
What is the good for absolutely nothing? Say it again now!
He said at last. War is the curse, Doctor. War! Killing!
Again.
From the moment Cain killed his brother, man has been marked. Marked with the blood of Abel, and cursed with the thirst to make war, to kill his fellow man. It's as normal as breathing.
Oh, it is.
There will always be wars, Doctor. And there will always be young men to fight them. Those empty, hollow eyes gazed over me, turning inward, seeing, remembering.
My soul.
I was a sergeant in the cavalry, he continued. We'd been engaged with the enemy all day long. All day long. All day. Pointless hit-and-run skirmishes that slaughtered men and gained nothing.
Not a damn thing.
Ironically, it was the day of my birthday.
Ooh.
By late afternoon, everyone is exhausted. The fighting scattered over a quarter of a mile of rough ground.
And
a shell landed nearby, knocking me unconscious.
And I get an angry H-job.
When I came to, it was dark. I was alone. The battle had moved on. Slowly, cautiously, I began to make my way through the unfamiliar terrain. After a time, I became aware of something in the woods. It seemed to be following me, marking my progress, moving as I did. I turned. Suddenly there was a flash of blue steel in the moonlight. Leveling my pistol, I fired twice. A figure staggered from the bush and collapsed. I approached my victim. To my horror, it was just a boy.
Oh,
Maybe 20 years old.
son of a...
He was unarmed.
That's not a boy.
Clutched in his fingers was a crucifix. It was the shiny metal cross that I had mistaken for a weapon. I knelt beside the lad, struck by my detestable deed. Then, without warning, his eyes flew open wide.
Huh?
Clutching at my shirt, his mouth contoured into a soul-searing scream. He thrust the damnable silver cross into my hands. And then, beads of perspiration dotted X's forehead. He trembled and began to pace. Then an incredible expression, one of total and unimaginable peace, settled over him. He died quietly in my arms.
That's weird.
It was then and there I knew I was cursed. That I would never again find peace. It became obvious to me that X was suffering from some sort of severe post-traumatic stress. The cause of his stress seemed obvious. It is not unusual, I suggested, for a young man as you to have lingering feelings of guilt and tragic events in their lives.
Weird.
X turned suddenly, his face now ablaze with the most insipid grin. He laughed aloud. Young man indeed. But you don't understand, Doctor. I wasn't a young man. I was 35 years old. And the year was 63. 1863. I was a sergeant in Jeb Stewart's 16th Texas Cavalry. It was the Battle of Milliken's Bend, Louisiana.
Ooh.
What became known as our Civil War.
Our.
He laughed again. then terrifyingly baying of a madman. And yet throughout his discourse, it became evident that he believed what he was saying. You said it yourself, Doctor. You said you wouldn't be surprised if I had lived to be 120.
You're good at that.
If only that were true. If only that was where it ended. But no! Not today! Not at all! After the war, I returned home. Things settled into a comfortable routine. The war was all but forgotten. Then on my 16th birthday, it began to happen.
Ooh.
The changes were slow, subtle, and nearly imperceptible. It was my wife who was the first to notice. But within 10 years, it was frighteningly obvious I was aging. But aging backwards.
What? Benjamin Button type.
Hashtag Benjamin Button. Growing younger. My gray hair gave way to its natural dark color, and was growing again where it had ceased. My skin seemed to shrink, smoothing itself over my body, erasing the traces of time. Old scars healed and disappeared. Even my eyes grew stronger. I put aside my glasses, and I began to feel as I did in my 20s, strong, healthy, and alive again. And young! My God, I was young. I was young again, a young man of 20. This time his laugh was sardonic, even bitter.
Bitter?
Providence has its price, Doctor. On the day of my 17th birthday, I awoke to find myself once again in uniform. I was a new man, a different man, but with a familiar role to play in life's capricious game. All that remained of my former life was this. Reaching into his shirt, X tore a metal crucifix and a chain from around his neck, flinging it into the floor. This cursed cross. Before I could comprehend what was happening, I was charging up San Juan Hill with Teddy Roosevelt and his Rough Riders.
Rough Riders?
I was 20 again, Doctor. Yes. But I was 20 and once again fighting a war, forced to slay my fellow man. Returning to the States, I tried to make some sense of this maleficent manifestation. I had a new identity, a new beginning, a fresh start at life. At first I thought myself blessed. How wrong could one man be? How very, very wrong. Not blessed, but cursed. About the time of what you have been about the time what would have been my 85th year, although I carried the looks and constitution of a man but 35.
No way.
I began to regress again, to age backwards. This time the process progressed with amazing rapidity. Changes seemed to take place overnight. In 3 short years, I was back to being a young man of 20 again.
That wouldn't be a curse.
This time on my birthday, I awoke huddled in a mud and blood-soaked trench near Verdun, France.
Well, that sucked.
It was the war to end all wars. Only it didn't. And certainly not for me. X returned to his seat, a tormented look of determination, that of a man desperately bearing his soul shadowed his grim face. Life became a nightmarish roller coaster ride. I would live and age as anyone from a time. Then one morning, there'd be one less gray hair, one less wrinkle staring back at me from the mirror. And I'd know it would be just a matter of time. It was my 113th year on Earth. I was 45 again, but looked not a day over 21. I awoke, transported...
Whoa. 113th year on Earth.
And he was
45.
But didn't look a day over 21.
I don't understand that concept.
It's not for you to understand.
It doesn't make any sense.
Hey, but he awoke, transported in space and time once more. And ensign aboard the USS California at Pearl Harbor. That morning the Japanese attacked. I tried abandoning my conspicuous companion, dropping the insidious icon into the ocean, burning it, even burying the regenerating relic in a graveyard by moonlight, but to no avail. I became a 21-year-old lieutenant at the Chosin Reservoir in Korea. Next, I awoke in a rice paddy, a 19-year-old corporal caught in the Tet Offensive. For a time, it seemed I had finally beaten the curse. 10 years slipped by, 15. I was aging normally again. But it didn't last. Soon I began to once more regress. I found myself manning the gun turret of a deadly desert tank. And then, incredibly, not long after, I was back fighting in another desert war. Each time I awoke to kill. The bewitched crucifix hung around my neck like an albatross. No.
I just... Good albatross.
He slumped into his chair, exhausted from his startling confusion, burying his head in his hands. X began to softly weep. It was my duty to help this poor, tortured being climb from the depths of delusion. I touched his shoulder. Well, I encouraged, whatever it is that's troubling you, I'm sure we can get to the bottom of it. No! X screamed, knocking aside my hand, looking up. His contentions became that of a man possessed. Sorry. No, you didn't understand. He snatched up the photograph he'd showed me. This picture, it is me! This is how I was not very long ago. But look at me, doctor. You said I appear to be around 20. And tomorrow, doctor, is my birthday. By now, X was raving, near violent. With some assistance, I was able to administer a strong sedative. I placed him in the quiet ward of the hospital, taking precautions to secure him to his bed. The enigmatic crucifix, which appeared to be an ancient and perhaps Gothic, I locked in my safe. When I left, X was sleeping peacefully. Arriving at the hospital this morning, I discovered X was gone. As we searched the grounds, the announcement came that war had once again broken out. Further investigation revealed the crucifix, too, had mysteriously vanished.
Yeah.
That is a terrible curse.
Oh, yeah.
To fucking fight every war
Yeah.
since the beginning of time of America.
That would suck balls.
That would be absolutely terrible.
Can't believe what you would see. So, that was a creepy fucking story about just... I can't even imagine that being in every
Single
fucking war.
in American history. That's a curse, dude.
Yeah,
That's the epitome.
Well, to know after a while that no matter how good a soldier you are, you're gonna be fighting forever. For no reason. Or for a reason. Doesn't matter. You're gonna be fighting. That would
And it's
suck.
mostly for no reason. I mean...
Yeah, mostly. I'll give you that one.
I'm not saying nothing, I'm just saying.
Well, it's for oil.
But yeah, we still pay over $3 a gallon. My tax dollars are funding 4 wars in oil-rich countries. Why am I paying over $3 a gallon?
Alright. This is Hallo-Whiskey'd-Ween.
No diatribes and rants. Continue. Son of a bitch.
Alright. I have no idea the title of this because the first line is, I closed my front door, entered the lounge, and gasped. Jesus Christ! I fought back the bitter-tasting bile flooding my mouth. Counting from 1 to 10 as I slowly exhaled, I took a second look. This time, the vomit won and splashed onto the blood-soaked floor.
Ew.
My eyes streaming and my knees trembling. I tried to control myself. I forced myself to think back to the first autopsy I'd witnessed. The coroner had said he'd never seen anyone puke so much. I recalled the first dead body I'd seen. I hadn't been sick that time, but then the old lady had just been asphyxiated. Okay, the first victim of bloody, violent murder I'd seen. Decapitation. Yes, I heaved up, of course. I can still vividly remember the startled expression on the woman's face. Now, was I a big, roughy-toughy policewoman going on the...
She's a dyke!
No, I just love my voice giving this voice.
Am I a roughy-toughy policewoman?
Yep. Going to be bothered by what I saw?
You should do it a higher
and
pitch.
And smelt there?
Do it a higher pitch.
Fuck
Come
you.
on, smile down here.
No, I'm not. I don't know where the second burst of vomit came from. I haven't even had dinner, and wasn't likely to now. What a mess to come home to. Sweating, my throat feeling red raw.
'Cause you deep-throated a cock.
Damn straight. No. A foul taste in my mouth.
From the cum.
Realization suddenly dawned on me. It was the 1st of April. How bad I've fallen for it.
You were fooled to giving a dude a blowy.
Chris would never stop patronizing blonde jokes after this. I dyed my hair dark. It had been a long day. I shouted, "Very funny, Chris. Ha! Bloody ha!" My ex obviously taken some stage props from his theater and had arranged the trick. It was all a sick joke. I glanced at first, butchered victim. It does look realistic, I'll give you that. I inhaled deeply. Yep. And the stench is pretty convincing, too. And by the way, you can clean up my house now. This fake blood is going to take some scrubbing. My lounge looks like a bloody abattoir.
Abattoir?
He still didn't answer. I don't know what that is. I snapped. I know you're there, Chris. You're the April bloody fool. Oh, this is European.
Oh, they're English for sure. We were in my flat.
If you think it's going to make me come back to you, you're wrong. I might have considered it once, but after this, no way. The abdomen was split open, the intestines spilling out like foul sausages. I felt like eyes on me now, and knew he enjoyed my reaction. Think this is funny? I remember you crawling around your mother's floor, your baggy boxer shorts revealing most of your spotty ass as you puked for England.
Puked for England?
I don't know what that means.
I shall puke
I don't know what that means, but that's awesome. Oh. I irritably slapped the dummy. That word right there is just amazing. I gotta say that again. Irritably.
Is you sure that irritably?
I think that's what they're trying to put
But
here.
they did not spell it right?
Irritably.
I kept all the misspellings involved to fuck us up.
I'm not kidding you. It's irritably.
Nice. That's why I kept all those errors.
I irritably slapped the dummy. And leapt back. It was real.
Oh my god!
No one could fake the feel of dead flesh.
I can fake the feel of vagina.
I sniffed lightly. I'm sure I'll never get used to foetid stenches like that. I don't know what foetid is. I gagged. But no more vomit emerged.
You can only do 2 vomits on a blood-soaked floor.
Oh, damn straight. So who were these women?
Hookers.
Why the hell had some maniac chosen my home as the scene of the crime? Did I know the killer? And more importantly, was he still in the house?
He's calling from inside the house.
In policewoman mode, once more, I carefully checked each room. Check, 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 check. The house was empty. It was just me and 5 dead women. Count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Taiwanese hookers.
Oh. I would only assume at least one. I mean, drug trafficking is what it is, but human trafficking, at least one of them is Taiwanese.
And they love white chicks.
Yeah. I decided to take a quick look before calling my colleagues. Maybe this was a blessing in disguise, the gateway to my long overdue promotion. I concentrated on the job at hand, and I performed soap handkerchief. What? I'm sorry. I read that wrong. A perfume-soaked handkerchief at my nose.
I performed so handkerchief.
Typos.
Drunken.
Willing myself not to vomit, I looked in turn at each of the 5 women. Several of the first murdered women's teeth were missing, her face badly bruised. The main blood vessels on her neck had been severed on both sides. Her abdomen had been stabbed and slashed repeatedly. The second victim's swollen tongue protruded obscenely. Her face battered and swollen. Her throat slashed. Her abdomen viciously hacked. The third wasn't so gruesome. I don't know why I pronounced it like that. The only apparent injury was an obvious cause of death. The woman's throat had been slit. The fourth made up for the lack of the third's in goriness. Of course, he'd used his trademark, the slashed throat. She'd been opened from her rectum to her breastbone.
Damn!
Her intestines ceremoniously draped over her shoulder.
Fuck. Like the monk?
A curious glance revealed that one of her kidneys and her womb had been taken. The nose and an earlobe had been removed. The woman's features had also been disfigured. They were peculiar. Cuts on her eyelids and cheeks. That's pretty fucking specific right there.
Yeah, it is.
The fifth. Oh my god, the fifth. The body was only just recognizable as human.
Wow.
The face had been horribly mutilated. The victim's ears, eyebrows, cheeks, nose, lips were all slashed and hacked away.
Oh, damn. I thought they were all fucked.
Her breasts were removed. Her abdomen cavity emptied. And huge flaps of skin taken from her thighs and abdomen.
He's making
It pushed the lotion on the skin.
or else gets the hose again.
He'd played hide and seek with the intestines, liver, spleen, and womb, and placed them in various locations around the body. So where was the heart? I couldn't see that anywhere. Before her throat had been slashed, the poor woman had obviously put up a fight. Her hands and forearms were covered in wounds. I felt too much horror and to be nauseous. I imagined the death of the women. The fifth frantic battle for survival must have aroused him to frenzy of slashing when he had finally overpowered her. I heard a noise, footsteps, my heart feeling as though it would leap from my chest. I listened. Heavy breathing. Yes, and whispering. He was still there after all.
I want to lick you.
Where the hell had he been hiding?
In your ring.
He repeated my name over and over. Courtney.
Courtney.
The whisper sounded more sinister than any noise I'd ever heard before.
Courtney.
Far scarier than gunshots.
Courtney.
Even the sound of the bullet that I just missed my spine hadn't filled me with such terror. Had I survived being paralyzed to be mutilated by some deranged killer?
Fuck yeah.
I'd certainly fight with all I had, but if I lost, would the killer mutilate me more disgustingly than he'd carved up the last victim?
And raped you.
Exhaling slowly, I remembered my police training. I knew how to defend myself. I was learning kickboxing and was a green belt in karate. He'd picked on defenseless women previously. I will not feel fear, I thought, but I did.
Like Jennifer Lopez.
The whispers made my hair stand on end. Whore! I fought the urge to put my fingers into my ears.
Don't listen.
No! I had to be able to tell where the sounds were coming from.
Be fierce!
Alone in the chamber of horrors with a maniac, I began to silently pray. Images of my dead parents and my ex-husband flooded my mind. Chris had been a jerk, but at that moment, I would have given anything to have his reassuring bulk beside me.
Bulk by you mean cock?
Yeah, I think so.
Or that's bulge.
I would have even felt glad his mother's company.
Wow.
Now, this
even your
was saying
mother-in-law? You're fucked.
It actually says, now that's saying something.
Yeah. Fucking A.
I remembered how Chris presented me with the telephone calls and letters, virtually begging for a second chance. When I threatened to report him for stalking me, he had fallen silent. Would he still want me? Or would he have found another woman? I decided if I came through it in one piece, I'd contact him. If he told me to get lost, so be it. I heard the killer whisper again, sending new shivers through my body. Saucy Jack is gonna rip you up.
Saucy Jack?
That's what he says.
Saucy.
I called my hand to the mouth. Saucy Jack? Suddenly, it all filled into place. The Ouija board, the strange message that I'd laughed about the night before. 5 murdered women. Somehow, Jack the Ripper and his victims were in my house. My lovely new home, the Victorian house I'd always dreamed of. But why was he at my house? He'd obviously lived somewhere. Perhaps the serial killer that'd been there once?
Or twice.
You can't hurt me, I said, struggling to take my voice sound confident. Your dead, insane laughter echoed through the house. Trembling, I continued. You butchered 5 women in 1888. This is 2012. You, like those poor women, are long dead, pal. I waited for his response. Silence. I thought back over the message spelt out on the Ouija board. I hadn't paid it any attention, thinking that at once my giggling friends had been responsible. It had been a silly event. The 5 of us getting drunk.
Amen.
Twisting our status as young, free, and single.
Hey-o!
Half that anyway.
Well, yeah, we're not young or single, but we're free.
Yep.
God bless America.
You're gonna break your goddamn glass.
My home, sweet
Now,
home.
how had the message gone? I tried to remember it. The Ouijas are the men that will not be blamed for nothing, the killer repeated. I gasped, my heart literally missing a beat. Yes, I can hear your thoughts, bitch. The laugh was far more menacing than the words.
Then that just laughed like.
I know all your secrets, Courtney, you filthy slut.
Yeah.
Your husband doesn't know what a vile mind you have. He thinks you're not interested in the sins of flesh.
Oh, she loves the cock.
Again, the evil laugh echoed. Who are you, you bastard? Wouldn't you like to know, whore? The laugh didn't scare me anymore. I shrugged. No, not really.
No, I'm just kidding, man.
They never caught me. Think you can do better? I was never interested in the case. I thought you were just some loser who had gotten his kicks from mutilating defenseless women. The television exploded, showering the lounge with glass, and it was picked up by invisible hands and hurled across the room. What a mess. How dare you? Look at my home. Blood and guts everywhere and now glass. My terror transformed itself into rage. Who cares who you are? Maybe you were a doctor or a barista or a member of the barista?
Like, he makes coffee?
Yes.
That's like, I'm working at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Give me the double foam
It is
latte.
kind of strange to go from doctor to barista.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Or a member of the royal family, or I thumped the wall. An absolute nobody.
Fuck you, gay.
The killer didn't laugh. Show yourself, coward. I'm a woman, but I'm not weak like the 5 that you preyed on. I suddenly remembered the tiny bottle of holy water that Chris had brought back from a visit to the Abbey in Monte Cristo.
The Count of Monte Cristo.
I'd meant to throw it away, but hadn't liked to somehow. My only keepsake of nearly the whole fortnight.
That's 2 weeks.
I know, that's a good time. I knew exactly where it was. In the top left-hand drawer of the bedside cabinet, beside the vibrator.
Oh!
My obsessive-compulsive disorder for tidiness
I had to do it 3 times.
Mad.
I had to fucking stick in her 3 times, or else I just didn't feel right.
Yep. But it had its positive side, after all. I rushed upstairs, bracing myself to fight the killer at any second. And I grabbed the bottle. I had never believed in the power of the holy water, but I had nothing to lose.
May the power of Christ compel you!
It worked in horror films. That's actually what it says there.
That wasn't an ad-lib?
No, that wasn't.
That was scripted?
Yeah, that was actually in it. Sprinkling the water around the house, I again repeated fragments of prayers that I recalled from my school days. I noticed a shadowy figure materializing in the corner of my hallway. He was using all his strength to defeat me. The huge knife in his hands glinted menacingly.
Bang!
Throwing the contents of the bottle at the figure, I recalled a line from a play staged at Chris's Theater once, and shouted, "You have no power! Be gone back to hell!"
Be gone.
A gust of wind nearly blew me off my feet, and the door opened and slammed shut. I've never been sure if my words, or the forceful way that they were delivered, did the trick. But Jack the Ripper and his poor, pathetic victims were gone, and my house was clean as it had been.
These pipes are clean!
I thought again of Chris. He was the only person I knew who would believe me. I needed him there. My hands still shaking. I found his details in my address book.
Details magazine. Subscribe today.
I'd wondered at the time why I'd even bothered entering them, and dialed his number. As he answered, I broke down. What if he hung up?
Don't hang up, please.
Courtney? Is that you, babe?
I love you.
It was a weird ending.
Yeah, it is. And let him toss the papers of loot.
It's whiskey.
Hallo-Whiskey'd-Ween, everybody. Are you getting drunk? Are you getting weird?
Dude, this next story is huge.
You think we're gonna make it?
I don't know. I should have started with this one. I'd still be on it.
Yeah, maybe we should just decline.
Oh, I'm gonna keep running.
You're gonna run that?
Why not?
You're gonna run like a grizzle.
Holy shit, man!
We're already at 49 minutes, dude.
Who cares? We got more bottle. Holy
All right,
fuck!
that's an epic tale.
Why did you give this to me?
Because I thought you were
It's
literate.
like 50 fucking pages.
All right, I'm gonna go with the tale number 4? Tale number 4 in this anthology.
And you did a horseshit job of making sound effects that last time.
That was a riveting tale.
It was.
There was nothing to add to that. That was a brilliant piece of literature.
Oh, I gotta get some of this.
Yeah, you got a lot of scotch left. I was chug-a-lugging, and I'm quite drunk. So this next tale is gonna be.
That was a bunch.
That's gonna be. That was a good chug, dude. This next tale is gonna be rough, but bear with us, folks. And so it begins.
Woo.
Years of being locked away from the world had completely removed any aspects of normality from the girl's brain.
The girls?
The side effects of loneliness had enveloped her mind long before her sanity had crumbled to pieces before the doctor's eyes. She was now more like the part of the world that, if kept in the dark and pretended it wasn't there, it was much easier to go on living with a clear conscience. The room was silent, as it had always been. The girl rested her chin on her knees, which she had brought close to her chest, and she slightly rocked back and forth on the bed. Her hand tilted to the right. Eyes wide. They started twitching from her lips. Escaped clicking noises. 1, 2, 3, she repeated over and over in her delusional mind.
1, 2, 3.
The pattern continued
1, 2, 3.
long into the night.
1, 2, 3.
A shadow loomed over her sleeping body, watching the girl breathe in and out, watching her torso rise and fall. The apparition too clicked gibberish at her and scurried up to the ceiling before leaping onto her bed. The girl woke with a shudder and sat upright to face the creature that had spent many nights watching and waiting for her. It spoke to her with shrieks, and the girl responded to her playmate.
Fuck you.
It ran up the wall, and the girl, remaining on the floor, chased it around the room trying to catch it.
Stab you in the balls.
Eerie giggles filled the night as the two played their tag and chase game. Dawn came.
Don King?
She fucking came all over it.
No, I'm saying Don King?
No, Dawn.
Was he promoting it?
No, Dawn.
Oh, okay.
Dawn came. She squirted.
Only in America.
She squirted all over that shit. So Dawn came.
Yep.
Now when the sun shone through the non-existent window, but when the lights were turned on and illuminated the dark room, it woke the girl, who was asleep on the floor, curled up in a ball.
I wasn't supposed to be up for another 3 hours.
The shadow had disappeared, hiding in the blackness under the bed. Every now and then, a click emanated from the shadowy void beneath the bed, reassuring its friend that she was not alone. The girl flinched and twitched instinctively, looking up to see if something was there before picking up the charcoal that had been given to her to keep her mind preoccupied. The crook of her mouth trembled as she crawled like an animal into the corner of the room, hissing at the door that she remained forever closed.
Hissing at it? What the?
She hissed at the door like an animal into the corner of the room at the door that remained ever closed. She sat back, snarled, before facing the wall and running her fingers along the white, leaving black smudges. Then playing with her mouth, pulling at her chapped lips. Her arms and legs would spasm, kicking and hitting at the empty air, while her eyes remained wide and twitching. She continued to count her chant of numbers like a prayer.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The truth was in the day and age. To be different meant the unknown, and people were scared of the unknown. There was also the argument that the girl hadn't originally been completely insane, and that she just saw things differently.
Really?
To those around her. When she continued to talk to people that weren't there, others feared the worst and felt it was safer to lock her away than to deal with the problem. Out of sight, out of mind, they say. But had driven the girl out of hers. Mind, that is.
That is.
To sever not the TOO, but the TWO.
I'm still trying to figure out what this is all about.
Severe injuries to senior employees who forgot they were dealing with a wild animal and not a little girl.
Not a little girl.
Any more had been the result.
Where'd you get these stories?
And secondly, a girl who no longer believed she was human.
Not human!
But rather a creature. Whose only communication was drawing of dark figures that not only justified psychiatric opinions on her mental state and the occasional counting to the number of 3, which was still just as confusing as the sketches.
Why does she only count to 3?
Let me pause for a scotch break.
Does she not know what is after 3?
She spent her days making noises at the walls, talking to them, often speaking a full conversation. Though the only words that escaped her mouth were the ordinal digits.
Ordinal digits.
Shrieks and clicks.
Ow.
Similar to the creature that hid under her bed.
Similar or similar?
Similar. She would sit in the corner and stare at the door, or even scratch at the paint on the wall. The girl would seem to tickle the wall and laugh as she rolled around on the floor, often looking like she was having a fit. Like, give me that goddamn fucking transformer at Target.
That nut.
The only objects that were in her room was the bed and a small mirror which sat above a sink that had been taken away before the girl had occupied the room.
No.
She had lost interest in it
She had lost interest in it. That's where, like, the newscaster just goes, really? You couldn't add something more to that?
But I digress. She had lost interest in it after the first few years of studying herself in the reflection. Now she would hiss and scratch at it. No longer seeing herself, but rather another creature looking back at her with black, hollow eyes. The light which sat in the center of the ceiling had caught her attention, and now she stood, staring at it, mouth opened. Her eyes filled with awe. She began muttering something other than her numerical prayer. But her focus was taken away by the happy shrills that came from under the bed.
From under.
The girl lifted her arms into the air and kicked off with her feet, landing on her bed. She crawled into a fetal position on her side and stared across at the wall, waiting. And then the room went dark.
I'd have shit myself long ago.
Years of being locked away had caused the nights and days to eventually blur. The girl continued to stare at the wall, letting her insanity take over her mind, body, and soul. A night came when her friend crawled creepily out and up the wall. But the girl did not move. She did not play. Her eyes closed to the world, blood cold, and her body still. The shadow whimpered and watched the resting body, but the girl did not breathe. Her chest did not rise.
Not at all.
And fall. And throughout the night,
and everybody was watching her chest, so
the howls of loneliness were finally heard within the eroded walls of the asylum.
Dun, dun, dun.
End. Well, we need to get on with the rest of our fucking lives. So, until 365 days later, we're going to leave you with another hollowed whiskey'd-Ween.
A lot of whiskey. I'm not even kidding you. We went through
half
a bottle of Crown.
Over 3/4 of a bottle of Glenfiddich 12-year-old. And we only destroyed probably a sixer of October.
But I think that the whiskey overpowers anything. Yeah, between the two of us, I believe we've done some damage.
Cheers.
To our livers, kidneys, as well as our senses.
Have a good night, folks.
And I hope you guys have as well. They're pretty fucked up stories, but hopefully we made them somewhat entertaining.
Well, you know what, folks? It's been a pleasure. We are Grizzles and not Fizzles.
I don't know what that means.
We say, come the revolution!
Stick 'em. Hip check. Hip check.
Stick 'em. Stick 'em.